Welcome back, everybody. I'm your host, Bruce.
And I'm your host, Pete. And welcome to our Commander Focus podcast. Bruce, how you doing, man?
I am doing really, really well. In case anybody's out there wondering, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. Mothers play Magic too. You're teaching your kids to play Magic, or you're playing with your partners and having fun. So happy Mother's Day to everybody, if who out there celebrating. So yes, indeed.
And we're going to talk about the mother of all formats anyway. But all I have to say is, Bruce, I was playing some of those Tarkir precons on Friday. It was a lot of fun. I mean, granted, 2 of the decks are just very, very powerful, and then 1 or 2 of them, I would say, are trying to do too many things at once. But overall, the experience was great, and it was just fun to see cards I haven't seen played in a while, like Casualties of War. So, good stuff.
Precon Commander games are fun. People forget what it's like to pit decks that are all precons up against each other, and when they come from the same set in particular, they do a pretty good job of trying to balance them and trying to make them fun to play with each other. Now, Pete, which one of the decks were the ones that were felt a little more powerful than the others? I only have the Mardu one with Zurgo Stormrender.
I'll give you the ranking. So Mardu 1 is the best one, I think, just on paper. It is the smoothest and cleanest synergistically. The Sultai 1 is very strong. Very, very strong. The Defender 1 is okay. It's just a little bit slow. So it kind of struggles sometimes when you run out of gas.
Right.
Because it doesn't really have a lot of card draw besides the commander, and when the commander gets killed or removed, it's hard to come back from that. The Dragon Tamir 1 actually stole a game, but it wasn't like, it was just kind of like the luck of what was top decked rather than it being an actually decent deck. To be honest with you.
Right.
The weakest ones, because they're trying to do too many things. I did well with the Pro S deck because I like that kind of way of playing, I guess, the second spell sort of control thing. The problem is, if you don't play the face commander, that deck does nothing. My friend was getting very frustrated because you're trying to play the second commander in that, and it's trying to do Pro S and it's trying to be a control deck, where it works better as a control deck, and the Pro S was okay, but it wasn't. Even though the game that I almost was able to win, I lost by 1 turn.
Right.
But the Sultai deck is very good. So I would say Mardu, Sultai, they're both at the top. And then the Tamir Defenders deck is about the same, and then the Pro S deck is at the bottom, just because it's just not very. It's like, for new players, it's hard to understand it sometimes, what you're trying to do.
Right.
And also, again, it's trying to do 2 conflicting things. It's either trying to be super aggressive or super control. There really isn't a mid-range kind of style for precons. You can't really like put that in there, because it's, again, these are decks that are designed to be picked up and played. So without further ado, though, we've got a few Tarkir cards actually. So I guess I'll start then, Bruce.
By all means, what did you find, and what do you want to talk about?
Okay, this card is sick. All right, it's called Sunspine Lynx. It's 2 colorless, 2 red. It's an elemental cat, and then it has 3 lines of relevant text. It says, first, players can't gain life, damage can't be prevented, and when this creature enters, it deals damage to each player equal to the number of non-basic lands that player controls, and it's a 5/4. And you know where I'm going with this, so what do you think, Bruce?
I like this card too. It does a lot of things that I like to do. The part that I like best is the last clause, where you dome your opponent based for the number of non-basics they play. So I have often looked at Anathemancer, which is an older card with Unearth that does something similar. And this Lynx leads me to like a deck where I'm looking to, like, a Jund color deck where I'm playing Hazardous Terrain, which is like the big 8-mana spell that domes your opponent for lands, and this Lynx, and you get into like a land, like a Punisher land deck, which I kind of like. And this is I could just imagine me doing something greedy, like sacrificing it to something, but playing like Not Dead After All, or like one of these like or Undying Evil, or something that brings it back again and doing it again, almost in a scam fashion, and doing my opponents for about 1 million. Because let's be real, in Commander, there's very, very few basics that get played, and you can punish somebody really hard for a greedy mana base and make them like eat crow. So I'm a big fan of this card. But I'm sure you're doing something evil with it. What are you doing?
I was thinking of a few dumb ideas. Well, one was it's going straight into my Jax's list because I can continuously do it, and I don't run that many non-basics. So just nugging people for damage every turn seems pretty solid. I was also thinking something really dumb with like Rite of Replication and just killing everybody.
That doesn't sound dumb.
Once.
That sounds awesome. That just sounds amazing.
You know, so that, and then there, you know how there's like a lot of that Myriad stuff going around. There's also like that Mardu card now where you can exile it and make a tapped and attacking token for each opponent. That sounds like a lot of craziness. And it pairs very well with Nariv. The Nariv that says when a creature enters, it deals double the damage. So potentially you could play this and just burn the table out in one go, especially in the late game. So I think there's a lot of applicability for this card. Again, I like the first clause first and foremost because it speeds up the game. I like the second clause because preventing damage is just a great way to get people to attack each other. Because a lot of people get afraid when they're playing in a control matchup and they're like, oh, I don't know if they're going to fog me, or they're going to play some sort of spell that's going to redirect the damage. Bring back Deflecting Plum 2025, please. But anyway, go ahead, Bruce.
I'm totally wrong. I like that they can't gain life, because in most pods there's somebody sitting there on a life gain deck, and now you've just invalidated a whole strategy real quickly. I really do like that. So I'm a big fan of it, but that wouldn't be the reason why I play the card. It'd be an ancillary like side effect of the card, which I'm down with. But yeah, no, this card is very, very good. There's a reason it's seen play in standard in a constructed format where,
Good
even despite the fact, even though it's a 4-mana thing, which tends to be not quite playable in standard right these days because the average standard deck curves out at like 2.5 seemingly. But this card seems like a really strong inclusion. So I'm a big fan. I approve. Thumbs up from me.
Yeah. So Bruce, what do you have for us?
Okay, so full disclosure, Pete, I recently found a box of March of the Machine on sale. Some store in British Columbia was unloading it for cheap.
Okay.
And so they knocked off $30 off the price of the box. And I had some stuff from some credit from buy listing that I could use. So cool. I sprang for it and busted my box and see what inside, because there's a bunch of the Praetors and things that I wanted to get. So, but one of the cards I found was this one, Kroxa and Kunoros. 3 red, white, black, legendary creature, Elder Giant Dog, of course. Vigilance, Menace, Lifelink. Whenever Kroxa and Kunoros enters the battlefield or attacks, you may exile 5 cards from your graveyard. When you do, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. And it's a 6/6. Pete?
Okay. Let me think about this one. So, it has that Reanimator flavor.
Yes.
The thing is, it doesn't mill itself. So you're gonna have to fill your graveyard somehow, and if they just remove it once, it's gonna take a while to like rebuild. I don't know. I just think this card is too slow. There's just better reanimation things. I know. Don't get me wrong. It's like an interesting way to be able to get your big fatties back, but in that color combination, unless you're surveilling a lot, or playing some sort of way to mill with like Ripples of Undeath or something, I don't see how you're going to be able to fill your graveyard enough unless you're purposely playing stuff like Buried Alive to get that stuff into the graveyard, or you're playing fetch lands and you're putting them in there so you can use them as escape fodder later. That's why I like escape cards sometimes, but they didn't see as much play in Commander, I think, just because of the fact that it takes a while for you to actually get the graveyard full enough to be able to do it. So my only drawback is that it's slow. But if you're able to nail down a big fatty Eldrazi or something, it seems like a lot of fun for a table. Or sneak attack. You could sneak attack stuff and then just let them die and then bring them back later. That seems kind of cute. So, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, so I was putting it in looking at which Mardu decks. I have Alesha, the Mardu Alesha, and I have the new Zergo deck, and I was like, does this fit in either strategy? And it doesn't fit in either strategy. No. It ends up in its own unique sort of space. I kind of like the fact that, you know, if you can fill your yard, that's really the big if. If you are able to fill your yard, this is cool because you're going to get something pretty spicy back with it. And it's in ETB. So even if your opponents are like, we got to kill the 6/6, you get it on ETB. So that's good news. Even better if you can blink it or something to that effect. So you don't even have to attack with it. You just get the value. So if you can stock your yard, can you do the thing? And that's really the crux of the matter here. I think in red, when you have things like Faithless Looting and Thrill, like all those red cards that make you discard to then draw, you're going to be able to find a way to churn through your deck. The looting effects, the rummage effects, you're going to find a way to, whether it's even like something as simple as Brass's the tunnel grinder, like you discard things to tunnel grinder, you just like Ripples of Undeath. You can find ways to stock your yard pretty good if you want to, if you're dedicated to the plan. So I think it's kind of an underappreciated card. I appreciate it doesn't go in every strategy, and that's really what we're looking for. It's a more of a niche card for sure. That's one of the reasons why it only appears it's like a commander in 2,000 decks. Appears in a grand total of 3,500. But I think the card has more applicability than we are leading ourselves on to believe.
I disagree. I think there's only two ways you could do this. You could just play it as a combo deck where you're running like maybe 3 or 4 creatures and you're, you know, playing all the instants and sorceries to get there. And the tutors to pull stuff into the yard. But that, or just maybe some sort of Voltron strategy for some reason. Maybe you're playing like this paired with like the original Audric, because it has so many keywords on it already. Maybe you're pulling back an Audric or something. I could see this being like a support card. Like the actual style of deck is something completely different, and this card just supports it for the colors or something like that. Which might be, maybe there is more interesting applicability, but I don't know. I just don't see it right now. But I'm not trying to be too jaded. I feel like anyone can make any card good, right? That's kind of like our little unforeseen motto. Any bad card can become good in the right hands. So I challenge you, Bruce, to make this card good and to show me that
I think I'm going to try it because I think it's something that I'm interested in this card. I think it's fun. So,
yeah, I mean, again, if it was green and you could have access to greater good, then yeah, I could see this working out. But I don't see
goodness, could you imagine?
the OG. Okay, so the next card that I have is a common from Time Spiral. It's called Gaze of Justice. 1 white, sorcery. As additional cost to cast a spell, tap 3 untapped white creatures you control. Exile target creature, and then you can flash it back for 6. Bruce, this is the poor man's path to exile. What do you think?
Oh. So, I'm going to be honest. The text in the text box appeals to me. To me, like this looks like a card I'd put in a deck that's playing lots of tokens. So it's a white tokeny deck. Whether it's white-green or white-black, I don't really know, and it doesn't really matter. So tapping the creatures to me feels incidental. 1 mana is exactly what I want to spend on this. The flashback is gravy, so now you get to whack something twice. The issue I have with it is the sorcery speed of the card, because I mean, imagine that on my turn, I'm prepared to do this. I don't have a problem. At 1 mana, it is appealing, where I can reach out and remove the most problematic permanent or most problematic creature on my opponent's board. The concern I have is that at sorcery speed, could I get myself into a spot where I'm pinched and I can't do it? And that's what I'm debating in my head if I'm worried about it. I think I'm convinced that even though if it's sorcery speed, though, a single white mana is probably still good enough that I would be prepared to run this as an additional way to make sure that I kill the biggest thing on the table dead. So I'm probably in for this. I think it's pretty spicy. Yeah, I think that's where I'm going to come down on this one.
I wish that it said just tap 3 creatures. It didn't have to be specifically white creatures, and then I feel like this card would be a lot better. But I like that it has that access later, like flashback, if everyone's top decking and you're playing in like a lower power sort of pod. Budget friendly, like this card's only like 5 cents.
Yeah,
and not that Path to Exile and Swords is like necessarily super expensive, but most people who run those cards without thinking about them, they only use it once in the game. At least this card you can use a second time later on when you need to.
Right.
And I'm sure there are some creatures out there that when they become tapped, it does something. Again, I don't know, because I was looking this up earlier, and there's really not that many creatures in white that say when they become tapped, it like does an additional effect.
So in Duskborn, there were a lot of creatures with that the green-white ability, which was
Survivor.
So those ones have good skill or good abilities when they are tapped, particularly on your turn. So you'd want to do it on your first main phase. So that is a thing you may want to get into. So that is a really good inclusion. I think brackets 1 and 2. This has a lot of appeal, and I've been listening to a lot of podcasts talking about the brackets, particularly with the shakeup recently, to the Game Changers list and sort of the spirit of the brackets, and how there really are an awful lot of players who are playing at brackets 1 and 2, particularly bracket 2, because lots of people buy a precon and will bring their precon out and play it. This would be a really nice inclusion to help keep your precon fun and friendly, without making it, a menace to your pod and keeping it. We need to have answers in decks, even at bracket 2, and so this would be a really good inclusion to have. Now we can all agree that as people play up the brackets, by the time you get to 3 and 4, the reactive capacity of this card is the problem. And so there is homes for this in brackets 1 and 2. I think by time 3 and 4 come around, you're going to be looking for the more reactive instant speed variants of this that cost more money. But that doesn't mean that this is not a card that people don't want to play. Just you need to be, if you're playing it, you need to be mindful of what sort of playing experience are you looking to cultivate. Because if you're looking to play a bracket 4, when you draw this card, even if it's a really potent effect, you may find that you don't have the ability to cast it or do anything with it. So that's kind of, I think, where I'm increasingly thinking about this card. I'm like, I want to play this in a bracket 2 deck, where I've got, I'm going to dirtle and I'm going to build a board and I'm going to have some things, and I want to use this, and I can use this effectively for good effect.
Yeah. I guess we'll see where this would fit, because I could see it in like a Darien deck. I could see it in some of the decks that produce a ton of tokens very fast.
I can tell you right now, like when you brought this up to me, I'm going to put this in my Tokasia list. So sure. I'm playing Tokasia Dig Site Mentor.
Remember, you need enough white creatures to do it.
There's enough of them in there. I think I can make this good to play. So I think I'm going to try it.
Maybe I'm wrong. For it. All right, what's the next card you have?
Jeskai Revelation. So this is a 4 blue, red, white It is an instant, and it says return target spell or permanent to its owner's hand. Jeskai Revelation deals 4 damage to any target. Create 2 1/1 white monk creature tokens with prowess. Draw 2 cards. You gain 4 life. Pete, help me out here.
I've seen this like windmill slammed in standard, and windmill slammed in draft, and it like wins the game. I think this is a good top end for like one of those sorts of like spell slinging control decks, or if you're able to copy this a few times, it seems to be pretty solid. But I know this cycle is rather, it is rather slow, right? There's a lot of others like revelation type spells in the game now, and a lot of them I just don't play. Like Shamanic Revelation is pretty decent, or Hour of Revelation too, but I think they made this sort of like a callback to that kind of thing, right? It's like supposed to be a haymaking card.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it really is because of the price, the cost.
So this reminds me very much of Magma Opus from Strixhaven. So
Sure.
it's templated very similarly. So Magma Opus is 8 mana, but it's 6 and a blue and a red. Right. Instant, deals 4, tap 2,
it makes a 4/4, yeah.
Draw 2. Like it's templated almost like it's a little bit different. The mana cost is slightly different to account for the fact that you can cast it with triple pip, like white, red, blue instead of just red, blue. Like, so it's very similar. And I didn't love Magma Opus the first time around in Commander. Like, it was a really good 1-on-1 card because it was your big boom at the end to finish the job. But in Commander, when you have so many other people at the table, I don't want to spend 7 mana and like I only kill their Sarah Angel and make a couple of derpy bodies and gain a couple of life. Like none of it's enough for 7 mana. When there are things at 7 mana that are going to legitimately slam the door shut to win the game. So if this is where this card is sort of falls short. I mean, it is splashy. It is super fun. It looks cool as all heck. But I would argue that I think this particular one is probably not where you want to go. And if you're going down this path, you're probably walking yourself into a trap where you're going to sink a lot of mana into it and you're going to say, yeah, I did the thing. And unless you can get multiple copies, and I don't even know how you do that reliably. Like this is going to be a thing where you're going to see, I wish I could do more.
I could see this with the new Tagum.
Maybe.
You cast it, it gains suspend, you get to do it again. I could see this with the God Eternal Kefnet, the 4 mana 4/5. You reveal it, yeah. You get to play it for 5 instead of 7. I could see this doing something like you're putting it in the graveyard and playing Mizzix Mastery and finishing the game that way.
Yeah.
So there's some potential here. It's kind of like when people pitch the Opus so they can reanimate, like they can flash it back later. I think that this card is not that bad, because at least you get to like bounce a spell back to hand that might lose you the game. At least the first clause is applicable. Mm-hmm. You can bounce something that might kill you, like someone's Voltron Commander. You could just bounce it back to their hand.
No, true.
You could shoot some. You could do a few other things. I like that it gives you a little bit of everything to keep you alive, and I think that's what this card is designed to do. In that it's supposed to help you stay alive just a little bit longer. But again, I'm gonna test it. I want to see if it works. If we put it in the burn pile, we put it in the burn pile. But
I mean, you made a good case for it. I would be prepared to try it too. I mean, I'm not sure I have a good home for it right now, but it definitely would be something that I put in the back of my brain to play later because I think it would be super spicy to play it. I want to fire off this sort of spell, but yeah, that sounds cool. I'm not sure if we'll give it a try.
All right, and what do you got for our non-creature permanent? So anything that's not a creature.
This is something I have never seen cast, Pete. I've never seen this cast. All right. So this is Invasion of Shadalar. 3 green. It's a battle siege. And then the effect is when Invasion of Shadalar enters the battlefield, return up to 3 target permanent cards from your graveyard to your hand. And it comes in with 4 loyalty or what do they call it? I guess it's loyalty counters on it, right? So that you
There's defense counters, I guess.
Defense counters, yeah. And so you give it to your opponent, and now if you want to flip it over, you end up having to deal 4 points of damage to this particular battle to flip it. Have you ever seen this card cast for starters?
Like in a game?
In a game Commander. Like
no.
I have
never seen this. I think no, I have not.
I mean either. And I'm like, I was like I said, I was opening this box and I saw this, and it is listed as a mythic. Now, that seems like there's enough things there that I'm like, is this good? I don't know.
I think I have an idea. So
okay,
the Soul Type Recon is about self-milling and then removing cards from your graveyard for bonuses, either by exiling them or returning them to your hand. So you play this card, you get back, like there's this big derpy dragon that's in Golgari, and it says when it enters you mill cards, or when it attacks, and then you get to recur a creature from your graveyard to play. And it's like, I think it's like 7 mana or something. But you play this thing, you have it in the graveyard, you pull it back, and then you just put it into play when you flip the Leyline Surge part of it. But that takes a lot of effort, so I'm not sure. Maybe, just maybe, this is a card that you could play in one of those sort of like recycle decks where you're like putting things in the yard and then recycling them, bringing them back to your hand, doing weird stuff with them that way.
I was thinking Zayatora would be where I would play.
You're obsessed with Zayatora, but I find it funny because it might work because you fling the creature at the thing and flip it immediately, which seems like really good value.
And yeah, so I don't know, but like I know I have an unhealthy relationship with Zayatora, but you know
you do. But we're here for it.
But that's what I'm thinking about. I'm like, what if I throw the thing at the thing and get the thing? That's where my brain goes. And
but try it and see if it works. You know,
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna put it in Zayatora, and I'm gonna see what the impact is. But I do like the Sultai idea. Like that seems like a pretty neat way because like there's lots of like paybacks now. Like Insidious Roots would get you, like if you got things leaving your graveyard, you get plant tokens that ramp you, and now you have more bodies to work with, and you can just get into some more shenanigans. And then on the back side, we didn't really talk about the Leyline Surge part on the back. As an enchantment, at the beginning of your upkeep, you may put a permanent card from your hand onto the battlefield. Which, you know, if you can keep your hand reasonably full, that's a pretty potent effect that people need to be respectful of.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. So I'm going to try it because I've never seen it cast. I'd like to see it cast, and if I have to do it, then so be it. I will cast the spell. Looking at the stats for it, what are the stats for it? It's in 15,000 decks. I don't know how that happens. Like, who's playing it? Atraxa. Disa the Relentless. Winter. So Disa, that's the Tarmogoyf commander. Okay. Winter. It's in Loot. I don't know about that one.
Because it's getting extra triggers. You're getting extra triggers, so you get to exile cards off the top.
Yeah, okay. Omnath, Locus of All, Kona, Glissa Sunslayer, the other Winter, Asuka. Oh, Asuka.
Yeah.
Yarok. Ooh. Oh, double triggers on things. Ooh. Vorinclex, Corvold. The bad Corvold. I don't know. Like, I'm not sure I would. There's the Muldrotha. Muldrotha is like only in 176 decks. And then it plays with Itali, probably to get Itali back. I don't know. Interesting. It's interesting stuff. Anyway, that's my thoughts. I'm kind of going to try it. I'm going to try it out, see what it does. Oh. Yeah.
All right, so the last one that I have for us today is I'm going to focus on the Planeswalker side, but this is one of the flip cards from Modern Horizons 3. So, Grist, Voracious, Larva. It's 1 green, it's an insect with Death Touch. Whenever Grist or another creature you control enters, if it enters from your graveyard or you cast it from your graveyard, you may pay a green. If you do, exile it, and then return to the battlefield transformed under its owner's control. It's a 1/2. Then it flips into Grist. It's a Planeswalker. Its plus ability says create a 1/1 black and green insect creature, then mill 2 cards. Put a Death Touch counter on the token if a black card was milled. -2 is destroy target artifact or enchantment. And -6 is for each creature card in your graveyard, create a token that's a copy of it, except it's a 1/1 black and green insect. Alright, Bruce, what do you think?
So I bought one of these when MH3 came out because I like the original Grist, and I wanted to make use of this card. And I was never satisfied with my efforts to try and get it to flip. And so I ended up cutting it out of any deck I put it in because I never found it. I got what I wanted out of it. I like the back. I like the Grist on the back. All of those things are text that I like, particularly the -2, because oftentimes those are the most problematic permanents to destroy. So if I can find a way to flip it and then use it to kill my opponent's prison, a ghostly prison, or the winter orb, or the whatever the awful thing is that's making my life miserable, I'm pretty okay with that. The +1 is nice. The -6 is pie in the sky. But I like this Grist, and so I just want to hear what you think. How do we flip this reliably? That's what I struggle with happening.
So the nice thing is, it says like it or another creature. So Gravecrawler, really easy. You can do it on turn 2. Unearth, you play Unearth, you unearth it, you like pitch it or whatever, you unearth it. You can do it on turn 2. You could victimize this thing on turn 4 and flip it. They're like Rutstein, right? Like you play Rutstein, you mill a card, you mill Grist, you get a insect, you sack the insect to bring it back, and then you flip it. I really like the -6, and that would be my goal, is to get to the -6 and then just basically make a million copies of the stuff, right?
That'd be a dream come true. That'd be so good.
I also like that it's a 1/2 with Death Touch. So it has a little bit of that synergy too.
It doesn't die to Bowmasters.
Right. The Bowmasters has to work a little bit extra hard. I've seen this card. I think it's a sideboard in some 60 card decks or something because of what it does. But in Commander, I know people just play it as the insect tribal. They throw everything in there that is insect related. But I like this because it's -2 and its -6 is pretty good. And its plus isn't terrible. Like, it gives you at least a reliable blocker, and it kind of lets you go through your deck a little bit faster, and I'm okay with that, especially in a Golgari Reanimator style deck. So I don't think that you need to necessarily put this into your Reanimator Golgari style deck, but I think that it'd be fun to see if you flip it, what can you do with it once it's flipped. And I'm wondering how it works with like Babala Saga too, because it's technically a double-faced card. I'm gonna look that up later. But anyway, I digress. No, it's not a bad card. It's just difficult to do. It's difficult to pull off. So it's like very much bells and whistles as a card. But that's what makes Magic so fun, right? You're forcing yourself to do bad things and illogical play and stuff like that.
Which is why it makes it interesting, right? Because like that cycle of like they're all 1-mana things, like creatures that then turned into planeswalkers, and like everyone took one look at Tamiyo and said, "Well, that thing's cracked," because it makes the clue tokens to flip itself. Sorin, not as straightforward, but it's a life gain trigger, so it's not unfeasible to do.
The nice thing about this is it gets around finality counters too. There's a bunch of like finality stuff, because all you have to do is just reanimate it, and then it puts the counter on it. But because it's not dying, you get to flip it and it comes in on the other side.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Anyway,
it's interesting.
I like the card. I would like to be able to find something convincing to do. The fact that you're right, like it could be another creature, and hauling something else back out of my graveyard is achievable. Particularly, you put it like the invasion of Shadalar in beside it. I guess that doesn't quite work because it needs to be put into play. But anyway, that does seem like it's got some applicability, and I'm looking forward to trying it. So.
Yeah. So, yeah, folks, try these cards out. Let us know how they work for you. And we thank you for tuning in this week. We'll see you all next week. And have a great week, everybody. Appreciate everything here. Bruce, keep coming up with those fire picks. And we're going to keep loading them into the chamber. And, I got a few spicy ones that I wanted to share for next week that I found this morning. So,
indeed, sounds good. Looking forward to it. All right, folks. Talk to you later.
Take care. Bye for now.